This cute little cutting that I got is called Hoya revolubilis. And I just want you to be mindful of this particular one, not this one in the back, because this is a type of ripsalis that has been a little cutting and is actually probably now starting to root up in this particular Hoya. I've actually had this now surprisingly for 2 years, and it hasn't really grown all that much. So I have to say, you know, I might not have the best growing tips for this particular species, but I do have this. It is a little bit more of a succulent plant, and it's a darker green plant. So I have this in a very well draining mix like I do for most of my Hoyas, because most of the times these are epiphytic and don't like to be in a tremendous amount of light. Although I do have this kind of under my bookshelf about 2.5 feet away from a southwest facing window, so it does get a little bit of light, but not you know, intense amounts. So I would say 30 to 50% of the of sunlight that I'm actually giving it. I would be curious if I actually up the sunlight in this particular species and to see actually how it would grow and how it would differ. But typically this plant is native to China and Vietnam, although I can't tell you a little bit more about the habitat. I wish I could. I'd have to do a little bit more research on that. And I might actually, because like I said, this plant I've had for like a couple years now and hasn't really grown a little bit more than this. I do fertilize this plant, however, so on a bi-weekly basis during the growing season, spring, summer, and fall. And I'm giving it a little bit more of an organic fertilizer. So now and again, I'll give my plants a synthetic fertilizer, but I will cut it down so on a bi-weekly basis for organic fertilizer. And if you're using synthetic, then I would cut it down by half and do it more on a monthly basis, because Hoya in general are not usually really heavy feeders. That being said, even though this has been a very slow grower, I have to say that I have had no pest pressures whatsoever with this particular plant. So, you know, to be determined as to whether this will actually continue growing and if it will ever flower. But for right now, I made a nice little pot plant out of it.